Welcome to the InfiNOT podcast. I'm Kiernimbus, and this is my co-host Daka.
Howdy.
We're focused on the casual nature of the game and talking about our experiences with all that's new. This month, we'll be covering all that's happened in September and looking forward into the future. I believe tonight, or very soon, Elsa drops with the new, spooky season pass. And without further ado, yeah, we were sort of talking before we hit record about our playtime in Marvel Snap. So before we get into anything else, I do want to address it. I think the game had a nuke happen with Loki, and it definitely dissuaded me from playing. Daka, you were saying obviously you have other interests going on, but did you feel like seeing the same Loki deck over and over dissuaded you?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm going to say a mix of that and just Alioth was a little bit rough.
Oh, yeah.
Because the only strategy I could come up with to countering Alioth was just playing leader and taking priority. That was it.
That's actually hilarious. I have not heard that strategy before.
I mean, because just play Cosmo. Well, they're not going to throw Alioth in the Cosmo lane, so
right, yeah,
whatever. But yeah, I put leader in every single deck I made for the most part, and I was just like, you know what, it's got to work. And you know what, surprisingly, it worked a good decent amount.
That's actually kind of amazing. I assume though that when you ran into Loki, you lost every time.
For the most part, it was a little rough.
I mean, it should be said, you know me, I'm a meta hipster, and it was torture. This month has been torture for my deck building. It's the thing that I enjoy most about this game, but it's so restrictive when your opponent gets your deck but better. And they're already ahead because they got the Collector Loki combo. But frustrations aside, we'll dive into it a little bit more. Let's actually cover the cards that came out during September. Now, theme-wise, amazing. The Loki TV show is universally regarded as one of the best from Marvel. And, I was really excited for this season because of it. Let's address the elephant in the room. Okay, Loki is a 3/5 with the ability, on reveal, replace your hand with cards from your opponent's starting deck. Give them -1 cost. Yeah, so I'll be first to admit, I think I underestimated this card. I thought that it would be good. I did not think that it would destroy the game. Throw it with Collector, you've got like a 12 power Collector. You can put it into basically any shell because, again, you're replacing your hand with a better hand because your opponent isn't putting bad cards in their deck. Yeah, it's insane. Did you have fun playing with Loki?
Playing with Loki? Yes. When he first dropped, I had a lot of fun using him for probably the first half of that first week.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, all right, well, this has been fun, but I want to go back to, my other decks. And then it all started falling apart.
Yeah, man. I mean, this topic has probably been talked to death already. But yeah, it's extra salt on the wound that he's a 3/5 with an upside.
Yeah.
Just crazy. The card is insane. Some people are saying that he's weaker now because of Mobius, and we'll get to his impact on the meta. I still think Loki is stupid strong. It's stupid strong. There's virtually no downside to playing him. And, in typical Marvel Snap fashion, they're going to wait 3 months before they do anything with Loki. I think in a different universe, if he didn't have the -1 cost and you just had to use Quinjet, I think he would be fine. Because you have to draw Quinjet. But the fact that you can combo it with Quinjet is bonkers.
Mm-hmm.
It is so stupid. One of my favorite decks is Big Boys. It's a homebrew deck of mine, right? I have InfiNOT, Lady Sif, Ghost Rider, Crossbones, Spider-Woman, all of these cards that are high value, but they, have certain conditions that need to be met. Well, if you're the Loki player and you get my deck, it's just better. You get my cards at an extreme discount, and the best that I can do is just barely keep up, and that's not enough. it's crazy. I think it also, it discouraged deck building in a way I have not seen before. The best decks against Loki were the ones that were inconsistent, like Cerebro 3, or, I heard some people say like Hella decks, because it's a roulette anyway. Yeah, man, I really hope that they change this card. I like the flavor. I think it's very flavorful, but I don't know. It's way too strong. I think without ranting too much more about Loki, which I'm sure we'll come back to later on, let's talk about Alioth, because I know that you have a couple of things to say about this. And yeah, it's weird to me because I should be like blowing my top of this card. I hate Galactus. I'm a Galactus hater. But I don't hate Alioth in the same way. Mostly because we're still playing Marvel Snap with Alioth. We're not playing Marvel Snap with Galactus. But I don't know. You were telling me you had a strategy against Alioth for a while with Leader.
Yes. So unfortunately, I was not good enough to, skillfully obtain Alioth.
Yes.
When he launched. So I was like, well, I'm going to have to deal with this for at least a week. What do I do? So my plan was to just steal priority and then throw down Leader on turn 6. And it worked almost every time. And Alioth isn't the worst thing ever. I would definitely rather lose to an Alioth than like a Galactus or something.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know, I feel like Alioth is one of those cards like that, if you get got by it and like you're having a bad day, it's like, okay, well, that was just really annoying. But most of the time, I don't really care if I die to Alioth, It's like, oh, well, that was unfortunate.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a win more card, right? Like, it honestly reminds me of Arrow before she got changed. Did you have to deal with the old Arrow, or is that just a me problem?
I think that's just a you problem, but Arrow used to move everything you played, right?
Yes, it was infuriating. Like, yes, there was technically counterplay in the same. It's the same thing with like, well, if you just play Cosmo, and it's like, well, okay. If the Arrow player knows what they're doing, they're going to move the important cards, especially 6-cost cards. That's why Doctor Doom was so popular for the longest time, and you had the Doom Wave sort of scenario. So no matter where you played him, you got value. But yeah, it reminds me of Arrow in that way because it's a checkmate once the scenario is revealed. Like, oh, okay, I've played Jean Grey on turn 5. They have to play one card here. They're playing a ramp deck. I know that they are only going to play one card. I win. Or like even the less annoying stuff. If you just get lucky with Alioth, you can snipe a Darkhawk combo or a number of other things. And let's not forget that he also combos with Galactus. So if you get Galactus out on turn 4, and you play Alioth on turn 6, you just win. Because in order, for Galactus to come down, you need priority. Yeah, it's I don't hate this card as vehemently as I do Galactus, but I do think that he needs a change. Do you think I've heard a couple of discussions floating around? Do you think that he needs to destroy unrevealed cards? Is it a part of his identity to do that?
Like as a character or as a card?
Because I mean, part of the charm of Marvel Snap, right, is the cards have texts that reflect their character, and you have the cool animations that play. Do you feel like the unrevealed cards part, do you think that should be, is that something that can be changed, or do we need to look at other knobs to turn on the card?
I mean, I think it's something that can be changed because, I don't know, I feel like destroying unrevealed cards is just, one, really annoying, and one, I'm not a game dev, I don't want to say unbalanced, but it's definitely at the very least very annoying.
Yeah. Yeah.
When like your card hasn't had a chance to do anything. It's essentially just not having priority the entire time. Which, I mean, you'd have to be down in priority anyways, but it's just, I don't know. I'm not a fan of cards getting destroyed when they haven't even turned.
Because, I mean, here's what I've been thinking, right? I would honestly be okay with Aelioth as like a 6/7 if the stipulation was that he didn't destroy the cards before their on reveal went off. Like, on reveal, destroy all enemy cards played here this turn after their on reveal effects, or something like that. Because, I mean, the deal is, like, in most circumstances, you're still going to get the effect of Aelioth, but in other circumstances, you're not, like, absolutely punished for trying to play the game. What I found is Aelioth being put into, like, random... I saw somebody put Aelioth into a Patriot list. Just because, right? Like, a turn 6 turn off everything is very strong. Especially when you know where your opponent is going to play. So, yeah, I don't know exactly what the solution is. I've heard some people say, like, oh, let's just, make him a 6/2, make him like leader with a similar condition, right? You have to guess where they're playing and that kind of thing. But I'll be interested to see, what they do with Aelioth. I will say I did get the Dan Hip variant, and I'm very happy with it. But I have, like, in the same way that I'm not playing Loki because I'm a meta hipster, I'm also not playing a lot of Aelioth. So yeah, I think that wraps up our thoughts around that. Do you want to talk about Triple M, Mobius, and Mobius?
Triple M. Don't get me started on Triple M.
I mean, I think we talked when we were looking at data mines. This was the card I was actually, like, really excited for. And I'm happy with it, man. I got the Dan Hip variant, too. After they raided the shops with Dan Hip stuff. Yeah, I love him, man. I know some people aren't a fan, right, of a catch-all card. But he's an ongoing. He can be stopped. And his effect doesn't destroy the game. It's just another way to deal with Wave, who is super prevalent, and Ceradex, which have been, evergreen since the start of the game. It's nice to have something that actually deals with it. What do you think?
Now, looking at it from a logistical standpoint, I agree with you. But looking at it through the eyes of a Mr. Negative enjoyer...
Oh, dear.
I do not like Mobius. I was like, well, hopefully, the first time I played against it, I was like, well, hopefully, it won't do that to Negative, because it's not lowering the cost, it's swapping the cost.
Right.
But
yes.
I was wrong. I was so wrong. Oh, man.
You know what? I do actually weep for Negative enjoyers. They just can't catch a break.
Killing me.
Have you thought about teching in Rogue into your Negative list?
Sure have. That's what I've been running.
I mean, that's gotta be it, right? Because, again, like, for me, for the list that I run, Mobius is always an upside. I hate Dream Dimension. I hate Iceman. Baron Mordo's fine, I guess. But as a general... Yeah, I hate ice. Like, these locations are annoying. That's enough of a reason for me to put them in. Add on to the fact that, like, I can stop Galactus from happening because Wave won't go off. And, I can take advantage of Wave myself with my Big Boys list. But I totally understand. I feel like there's a bit of a divide in the community over Mobius. Like, they kind of sold the solution to the problem they created, and that felt icky to me. Yeah, I don't know. I think Mobius is going to end up being a pretty influential card in the meta. Like, if you want to be greedy with your deck, you're going to have to tech in Rogue or Enchantress. Because if you don't, you're not going to get your combo off. And the fact that Mobius also shuts down Zabu, which is in, 1,000 lists. Yeah, he's really good. I don't know. I have seen some people say that maybe he should be turned into, like, a 4/4 or something. Because ultimately, the fact that he's a 2/3 is just so good. You're not losing any tempo for playing him. and I think as a 4/4, there's a little bit more of a decision maker there.
Yeah.
And like, I like the fact that he stops wave, but it would stop the whole like, I play one card and your deck is invalidated strategy, which happens quite frequently in Snap. So yeah, I'd be interested to see in what they do. Do you think he needs change at all?
I don't necessarily think that he needs changed, but if they were to change him, honestly, I think they could keep him at a 2/3. Maybe even give him a few buffs in the cost and power department. But if they take away that your opponent's cards can't be decreased, I know that's like the main part of the card, but I think it would be kind of interesting just to see how effective he would be if he was still a low cost drop that just made it to where you couldn't be screwed over by card costs.
Interesting.
I definitely don't think that he would be as effective, but you know.
I mean, I think I would honestly still tech him in, but yeah, I mean, the huge benefit of making sure your opponent's cost can't be reduced, I mean, that is where most of his value derives. I think without that text, he'd be like a D tier card, but you know I love Crossbones, so I don't have much room to talk in that department. Yeah, I'll be interested to see if anything changes with Mobius. I think for now, he's here to stay. I mean, is there an archetype where putting Mobius in isn't a good idea? Like, just to counter your opponent's Mobius, because you know that the Mobius player is going to run Wave or something similar.
I mean, no, he's kind of just like an all plus side card.
Yeah.
Like he has no restrictions, like, at all. Like, there's no downside to playing him.
I would honestly say that the archetype, I mean, we could call out the obvious archetypes. Like, you probably don't want to put him into, well, actually, no. You could tech him and destroy. You just have to be careful on what lane you put him in.
Yep. I mean, you probably wouldn't want to run him in a discard deck either, but excluding the two decks in the game that, you know, solution to winning is destroying or getting rid of their own cards.
Right, yeah.
I don't really see why you wouldn't run him in most decks. I mean, obviously, you know, sometimes you would just rather have something else. But, I mean, he's not a bad pick, I feel. Just for the fact that he counters other people's decks.
Yeah, I mean, and again, I'm biased. I think I was going to love this card either way. I just fucking hate Dream Dimension. Honestly, if I could like pay $100 a year to prevent Dream Dimension from showing up in my games, I think I would actually do it. I hate that location so much. But anyway, we can move on. Let's talk about Ravonna. I think that she's being a little hated on. Like, I think it's just bad timing, man. They threw her in the September season the week before Mobius came out. And I feel like we haven't had enough time to experiment with her before her decks were just shut down instantly. Did you have a chance to play with her or play against her?
So I've played against her a few times, but I will preference this with the week that Ravonna Renslayer came out. I was all in Mortal Kombat. So
sure.
Play too much. But I think I'm gonna stick with what I said in the last episode of I think Ravonna Renslayer is an amazing card. But we just didn't have enough time to really test her out because old Triple M came in.
Yep.
And was like, let me deal with that for you.
I threw Ravonna into a Darkhawk list, and I liked it a lot, especially because, now that Rock Slide is a 3-cost, I've stopped running Zabu in my Darkhawk lists, which is blasphemous, but when you throw Ravonna in there, she discounts Darkhawk to 3, and Mystique goes down to 2. Problem solved. I can throw Black Widow into my decks now, and that's an extra card deny. I don't know, I like her quite a lot. I've been slotting, like, I will say I don't think she fits in every deck. I think that her restriction is pretty specific, but I have heard some people in the community say that she is just going to get better with time as more cards that come out that have low power but a cool ability come out. I mean, she's going to find slots in. Discount is obviously super strong, and Mobius is a huge part of the meta right now, but things, fluctuate and change. There are points where the meta stabilized and, we had a bunch of different decks to play. Honestly, I'm kind of longing for June. That was a good situation we had going on. If we ever get to a period like that, I would expect to see more Ravonna experimentation. I know that the goblins were like popping off during this time. There was a lot of experimentation with like Iron Man decks and other things. So I don't think that there's any denying that she'll get better with time.
I agree.
So yeah, I guess before we move on, we can talk about. Actually, you know what? Let's cover the locations now. The 2 locations that came out during this time were Time Theater, which copies the last card you drew instead of drawing your next card, and Mount Vesuvius, which means players can't retreat after turn 5. Have you played a bit in these locations?
I've played a decent amount in Mount Vesuvius. I have not gotten the other location once.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, I've run into Time Theater a couple of times, and of course, it's always luck that happens where it's like, oh, okay, I just drew a second Atuma. I don't really need that, but okay. Like, I think sometimes it comes in clutch. I think one time I got like 2 Zabus, and that was pretty fun. But Time Theater is, as expected, pretty random. It could benefit you. Getting like 2 Devil Dinos out of it is pretty pog, but it is denying you a draw, and that is significant. Darkhawk players are rejoicing. Mount Vesuvius, though, I don't know how I feel about it. I think it's cool that there is something that interacts with the retreat button, but man, it is weird to me that in a game that's all about like being fast and stuff, like imagine you're on the toilet and you finished your business and you want to just close the game and you're like, wait a minute, I can't retreat here. That's a bit unfortunate. I guess I'll stick in. I don't know. What did you think about it?
I mean, I think Mount Vesuvius is fine. I think it really helps out people that are confident in their play for obvious reasons. Of you're like, oh well, I know I'm gonna win. Then cool, it's a free location. And I mean, if you don't like it, I mean, I guess the only real advice that I can kind of give is to just retreat before turn 5, before it has a chance to go off.
Yeah, if you're feeling shaky about it.
Yeah, it gives you. I'd say I'm trying to figure out how to words English. It's hard. You have to come to the do I need to retreat or not epiphany a turn sooner, or, and hear me out, you can magic it, storm it, snow guard it, or legion it.
That is true. I mean, there's so much location control in the game. Dude, speaking of, I know that it's gonna come up, but snow guard, crazy. That card is nuts. Okay, let's go ahead and talk about. This doesn't really affect me because I still just don't have the drive to go for infinite rank. But as a professional infinite rank player, do you think that the snap points are cool? Do you like them?
You mean like the ranking system?
Yeah, they changed the infinite rank system, so once you get past infinite, you're judged by your snap points, which is the total accumulated cubes. Kind of. They do some math to sort of hide exactly what that number is, but it's pretty equivalent to how many cubes you get.
I think it's great because, hear me out, and I don't know, I can get called an elitist or whatever. In the highest level of play in any game, most people that are playing up there are competitive. They want to be the best. They want to, climb the ladder and get up there. So giving people a number to look at to represent, where they stand in the grand scheme, very good. I doubt I will ever disagree with it in just about any game, and I think it's pretty good in this game. I'm not gonna lie.
I will say, from what I understand, I mean I'm not up there, so when I'm hearing about like top players talking about it, it's cool, but apparently there's such a huge disparity from like the top percent of InfiNOT versus the bottom percent that like they're running into a lot of similar issues that they had before with like who they're getting, you know, matched up with, and your snap points can change drastically, and it's ever changing. Like if you're not keeping up with what's happening, you could very quickly fall behind. Now this is all pros. And what I mean by pros is PROSE. I don't actually experience these things, but they were brought up in a couple of the spheres that I'm in. I personally, though, I feel like any excuse to provide more incentive to play ladder is good. Ladder is the main game mode for the game. People, generally speaking, play Marvel Snap for ladder. I know a lot of people are huge Conquest enjoyers, but I think that overall it's a really good change. And just to go over this before we move on, have you listened to the seasonal music in the main menu?
I've heard some of it.
Do you just skip
right
by?
Well, I mean, sometimes I play with my audio turned on, sometimes I play with it turned off.
Sure.
Just depends on like if I'm watching YouTube on the side or whatever.
I mean, I think it's a nice change. I think it's interesting though. We're like constantly changing seasons, so the amount of times that we're gonna hear the normal theme versus like a themed theme is going to be drastically different now. Like the main Marvel Snap theme is going to be an oddity compared to the ever-changing audio track. I'd be interested to see too if they're archiving the music that they're making somewhere, like if they have it on their YouTube channel or something, because it's weird to me that they would compose and make new music and then just let it go forever. But I don't know. That's just speculation on my part. Yeah, that was like the other minor thing. Let's talk about the OTA that happened. With the September season, there was a bunch of changes, and boy oh boy, as a Blade enjoyer, I need to know, Daka, is your son your favorite son now, or did you go get some milk from the store?
He's been my favorite son for a very long time, my boy.
Yeah, Blade.
He's always held a special place in my heart, but now I don't have to worry about him robbing me.
Great. That makes me very happy. I've heard honestly only positive things about Blade, especially because now he combos with Galactus. Like you can do Lady Sif, Blade, and boom. Did I say Galactus? I meant Apocalypse.
I was gonna say you said Galactus, but I know what you meant.
Yes, I meant Apocalypse. You can Lady Sif and then Blade on the Apocalypse, and boom, that's 2 procs. It's really cool. And just to cover the change, he went from on reveal, discard a card from your hand, he's a 1/3, to on reveal, discard the rightmost card from your hand. I think that this is just a benefit. I've heard some people say that it's losing the identity of discard because, you know, random discard, there's supposed to be some risk. I don't know, man. I think just making the cards more viable in discard is cool. I like that. And it's still sort of random. You can't play them at any time. And I like that. So yeah, huge props to developers. Blade is back, baby. I've seen him in a bunch of different lists.
Blade's always been back as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I know, you madman. Let's talk about the Soul Stone. This change I really didn't think much of, but apparently it's devastating to Thanos players. So Soulstone before had on reveal draw a card and ongoing enemy cards here of -1 power. That ability to draw a card has been removed, and apparently that has like dropped Thanos' win rate by like 5%. It's pretty significant. Are you a Thanos enjoyer?
I not as much anymore. I definitely used to be, like, especially whenever I first pulled Thanos, but I've just been messing around with so many other things. I haven't really had a chance to play Thanos recently.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but I can understand why it would, because in Thanos decks, right? You want to put down all the Infinity Stones, and, like you want to get as much draw from them as you can. And I mean, I think the only card or cards now that don't have draw are Soul Stone and Power Stone.
Mm-hmm.
Is it Power Stone? I think it's Power Stone.
Yeah.
Which, going from one of the stones not having it, now two of them don't have it. That's less draw. Less draw isn't great. You've got all these extra stones in your deck that you need to get out. So I can understand how it's not the greatest outcome, but it happens.
Yeah, it is so weird to me. Like, did they really feel like Thanos was like taking over the meta? Did they like why did they decide that this was necessary? As far as I know,
that's a great question.
like Thanos is strong, but his heyday is long since gone, right? I mean, there are just things that threaten his game plan. He's still a good deck, but as far as I know, he was like considered like B tier overall. Yeah, I don't know. It's a weird decision to make. I guess. Well, and the developer notes here also talk about the fact. Did you remember, like way back, they made that really complicated wording change to Mystique and Rogue, where they would also copy an on reveal if it was connected to an ongoing. That was specifically to target the Soul Stone, since it was the only card in the game that had an on reveal and ongoing. And they literally say at the end of this, oh well. Like, they did all this work on the back end to make it relevant, and then yeah, they just took it away. It's so weird. Okay. And we're going to talk about the next OTA change next. So we're going to be bringing up Spider-Ham again. But they changed him from a 1/1 to a 2/2. Now they changed it from, transforming the highest cost card in your opponent's hand into the leftmost card in your opponent's hand. The reasoning being that they didn't like that it was targeting Apocalypse so often. And they felt like having the leftmost card in your opponent's hand trigger means it's probably their higher cost cards because they're not playing it, and that's the logic behind it. I actually...
Nah, they just want you to get Agatha out.
Yeah, clearly. I don't know. I feel like I saw a significant decrease in Spider-Ham, but he still played because he gives information.
True.
Yeah, I'm reading the rest of the developer notes here. I think the idea was like they felt that he was too strong as a 1/1, so they changed him to a 2/2. But then they felt that he was still too strong as a 2/2, so then they changed his ability. And in the next OTA, we're going to talk about what they did with that. So we'll go over probably the most significant change for a card I've seen in Marvel Snap. Snowguard had a huge change. So before, Snowguard was a 1/2, and while she was in your hand, she would alternate between the Hawk and the Bear. The Hawk was a 1/2 that ignored all location abilities next turn, and the Bear was a 1/2 that triggered the effect of the location that you played it on. This card was universally revered as the worst card in the game. It was inconsistent, the effects weren't very strong, and it was a 1/2, so it's whatever. Out of nowhere, they dropped a huge buff. Now, Snowguard adds the Hawk and Bear to your hand, and they changed the stats to a 2/3 for both of them. And they changed the Hawk's ability so that it ignores all location abilities until the end of next turn or the game, which is very important because before, when you played it on turn 6, the locations would just turn back on at the end of the game, so the effect felt virtually useless playing it then. What do you think about this change? It's incredible because it came out right around the whole Loki taking over the meta thing, and it buffs Collector now. It's a good curve out. It gives you so many things. What do you think?
So I don't have Snowguard, but I have played against a lot of Snowguard
Yeah.
since her changes. I mean, I think she's pretty good now. I like it.
Like,
I think I don't mind cards that interact with locations in certain ways, I guess, is how I want to put that.
who's playing Rhino now? Who's playing Rhino? Tell me, Daka. Tell me. Who's playing Rhino?
I don't know, but I'm sure you will, Mr. Hipster.
I probably will. No, but in all seriousness, slam dunk on the developer's side. I think universally this card has been loved pretty incredibly. Last but not least, this is a very minor thing. Absorbing Man went from a 4-5 to a 4-4. Do you think that Absorbing Man deserved that?
No, to be
mean,
honest, I think you should have stayed at 4-5.
Here's the deal, right? The most common argument to nerf Absorbing Man was the Brood combo. It was just super strong. I don't think there's any denying that. But I mean, it's so weird to me that they're like, okay, we need to get Absorbing Man some more play. Let's make him a 4-5. That's pretty good.
He starts getting more play.
Right.
Okay, so we need to nerf Absorbing Man.
And I get it. I'm not super upset about it. I'm not exactly like an Absorbing Man enjoyer. I would throw him into the occasional Wong deck or whatever. But as a 4-4, he's still kind of strong. I don't know. I don't know. I thought it was really spicy as a 4-5. I really liked that. But yeah, I think that covers the main, updates that came with the September season. We can talk about the OTAs that happened a little into the middle of the month. Okay, so at this point, I'm getting frustrated, right? I'm like, okay, they got it. They're good. They're gonna do something about Loki, right? Right? And instead, the collector says, "Get down, Mr. President," and sacrifices his viability in every other deck and gets nerfed. So the collector went from a 2-2 to a 2-0. And the worst part is, it doesn't even make him worse in the Loki deck because he's still like 10 power instead of 12. Like, I don't understand it, man. Loki's the problem. Just fix Loki. Collector was thrown into like a couple of decks, and now he's just worse in them universally. What did you think about this change?
I think you put it best. He hit the "get down, Mr. President" for Loki. I don't think that. I mean, Collector was part of the problem of why Loki is as consistent as he is, but it's 2 power. And in those decks, you're going to be getting plenty of power on Collector, so why nerf him in other places?
Yeah, like I had a Collector Dino deck that I really liked, but like now I have to genuinely consider, is he worth it in there? Because the whole gimmick is like, okay, I'll play a Sentinel or 2, I'll have my Kitty Pryde out, and he'll get up to like, 7 or 8 power. Now, don't get me wrong, that's still pretty insane for a 2 cost, but that was just value in the deck, right? I built the deck so that Collector would get bigger. Now, when I'm playing a Dino deck, I'm like, well, why would I ever play those things when I could just like play Moon Girl or just play Coulson or just play Nick Fury? Like, I don't need to worry about buffing the Collector anymore because the best that he can do is a 2-5. I might as well play Lizard. Like, I don't know. It was a weird change for me. But that being said, if you want to talk about a Giga Chad change,
I agree.
Mr. Shadow King has just been going down in cost, and every time the whole community rejoices, he is now a 2-3. Holy moly. This was a saving grace. Now, did it stop Loki? No. Especially because they also got your Shadow King. But I think it really helped, and it also helps that I feel like he really belongs at a 2-3. I think he feels extremely good. Have you been putting in more of your decks?
Right now, no, but when the changes happened, yes. Because when the changes happened, I already had Shadow King in a Cerebro 3 deck that I was using to go toe-to-toe in the arena with all the Loki players.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, looky there. even better now.
Yeah, no, I'm happy with it. No notes. Great job. Speaking of no notes, I mean, you know that I got to be excited about this one. Lady Sif was changed from a 3-4 to a 3-5, and that's the change, and I love it. You know, she was unique in the discard category because she, you know, she's a discard card, but she didn't have like the same value as some other cards. Like Colleen Wing is a 2-4, Blade is a 1-3, Swordmaster is a 3-6, and the reasoning was like, okay, well, she's a targeted discard. Well, I think they felt like the discard archetype could use a little bit of a boost, and I love it, man. I play Lady Sif Ghost Rider, and an extra point is pretty solid. I'm happy with it. Have you played? You haven't played a ton of discard, but seeing all these changes to the discard archetype, do you feel like it's more appealing?
I definitely do think that it is more appealing, especially since other cards have come out for discard. Like I know that Silver Samurai is a bit different than most other discard cards,
Sure.
but I am an enjoyer of discard decks.
Yeah, man, me too. I do love me some discard. And you know what? We'll do this change first because it's tangential to that. Black Cat was changed from a 3-7 to a 4-9. Huh? What?
You know, it's definitely a change of all time.
Right? Like, here's the thing. Nobody's playing Black Cat, period. But if I were to play Black Cat, it would be nice to have the option to play her. Right?
Yeah.
Now I just, like, I have a... I don't even know the percent chance off the top of my head. But you get my point. Now you have one less turn to work with. And if you're just doing like a Ghost Rider combo, you probably would just play Lady Sif and do a big card. Or if you're doing a Hella list, you don't care because you're playing MODOK, right?
But what if you don't have InfiNOT in your hand all game and then your Lady Sif just hits your Ghost Rider?
You're so right. No, in all seriousness, though, this was just a meta change. They just need. I think they might need to change Black Cat. I don't think that her card design is very appealing for anything.
You know what I think a good Black Cat change would be? Giving her the opposite effect of like Ebony Maw. But I mean, obviously, keep her worth it. But have it like if you pull this card in like the first 3 turns, she gets discarded. But if you pull her after, you keep her, and then have her be like, I don't know, make her like a 3/9 or something.
Oh, like a really like an all or nothing, like a.
Yeah.
I kind of like that. Yeah, there's some things that you could do to Black Cat to sort of keep the identity, but make her more useful in a deck. I mean, otherwise, yeah, like the best thing you can do is throw her into a Hella or a Ghost Rider deck, but there are better cards that you would play anyway. Like, if I'm going to be discarding things and I want big stats, I'm just going to put bigger stats in my deck. I don't know. It's a weird thing. But yeah, that was all of the changes for the mid-season patch. Why are they so defensive over the season pass cards? I could answer the question for you. I could. I just don't like the answer.
Do you want me to answer it for you? I can.
Okay, yeah. You could do it for me.
Season pass cards cost 10 schmackaroos.
That's precisely it. And just it frustrates me a lot because I know where they're coming from, right? Because you're going to have people unhappy either way. But for the health of the game, could we just do it? Could we just do it? The people who are complaining just want to complain. You're paying a battle pass for a live service game. You gotta know that things are going to change. Anyway, I'll stop my ranting. We can move on to the most recent OTA that happened, and boy oh boy, this one, it's either the most impactful we've seen in a long time or the least impactful, and I have a hard time deciding. So let's address the elephant in the room, Galactus. 6-7 down to a 6-5. I want to hear your thoughts first.
So, I am a bit of a Galactus enjoyer. I'm not gonna lie, I do enjoy some Galactus.
Uh-huh. Do you think he's dead?
Do I think he's dead? No. Because as long as you can still hit wave on 3 and guess right on turn 4, you're still gonna get Galactus out. But I think it does kind of nerf turn 6 Galactus, which I feel is the most fair Galactus. Which, you know, I guess you can throw out. Me personally, I run Forge in my Galactus deck anyways, but now that definitely makes him a 6-8 instead of a 6-10. So, I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of it, but I understand why some people are. Like I said, I don't think it changes too much with how Galactus is typically played with a wave.
Yeah.
I just think it hinders his capability on turn 6 to go for the Galactus out of nowhere.
Here's the deal. I do hate Galactus with my very being.
That's fine.
However, I'd say the only positive about this change is that I've been seeing less Galactus. It was so frustrating, and part of the reason that I had trouble making YouTube videos this month is because it was just Loki and Galactus. And you can't counter both, you have to counter one. And that's just not entertaining content. So, to see his play rate go down is a mercy. But I don't think... I even hate saying this, but I definitely don't think... Now, you throw Galactus in the deck, and it's just a worse deck almost all of the time. If your strategy is like the whole Nimrod Shuri thing, you might as well play Destroyer now.
Yeah.
Because what are the chances? What are the chances you're gonna beat a Lizard, or a Silk, or I don't know, a Rocket Raccoon and a Spider Ham? There are just so many things that beat you now. And yes, there are ways to buff. I've heard some people say that turn 6 Galactus is still viable with Claw. But that's gimmicky, and again, it's not guaranteed to work, and you're putting a lot of resources into it. I feel kind of bad for Galactus. I don't think that he deserved that harsh of a nerf. I think a 6-6 is still playable. I don't think a 6-5 is very playable. You have to put a lot into Galactus to make it work.
What other 6-5 cards are there? I mean, there's Doctor Doom.
There's Alioth.
Doctor Doom, Alioth, and Spectrum.
Dude, can we talk... Before we go on, can we talk about Spectrum? I want her buffed so badly. She needs something right now.
You think I don't want her buffed? Dude, I've got the... the Binks variant because I put my money down on my boy.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, you did win that. Yeah, no, I made that that Spectrum list with Wong and things like that, and I try to play it from time to time, but what I often find is I'm like, I should just be playing Silver Surfer because it's the same thing better. What do we got to do to get Spectrum some love here? Can we get her to a 6-7 or a 6-8? Is that too much to ask?
I don't think so, but
I think it would be cool. It would be neat for her to hold her own in the lane. But anyway, let's move on. Let's talk about Kitty Pryde. I think that a lot of people were upset about this, but it makes more sense when you think about the new card that's about to come out. Are you a Kitty enjoyer?
No, not at all. Actually, I'm going to be completely honest. I think Bounce is my least favorite deck in the entire game. I was ecstatic when this change came out. I'm not a fan of Kitty Pryde.
It's hard to deny that she's arguably the best one drop in the game, and probably top 20 in the game. Just insane. She's an insane card, and the reason she's so insane is because she can buff Collector, Angela. She gets bonuses from Shuri. And now there are decks coming out where it's reminding me of the olden days where you just you would throw three cards down and win the game. It was Shuri, Shuri, Red Skull, Taskmaster. Boom, you win the game, end of story. It's changed. Now you can throw Kitty Pryde in there because she gets so fucking big. Like, it's nuts. And honestly, this is necessary because of what's going to happen next one with the season pass card, and we'll talk about it. So we'll talk about it then. Let's move on. We were just talking about how Snowguard was changed to be like a super viable card. They thought that she was a little too strong, and they nerfed the Hawk and Bear. The Hawk is now a 3/3, and the Bear is now a 3/4. I actually like the 3/4 status effect on the Bear. I think that makes sense. It's a bear. I don't know about the 3/3 for the Hawk. I also don't think that Snowguard was that busted, but with Loki, she was pretty strong. So, I don't know. Do you have any opinions?
Not really. I mean, I like I said, I can understand the bear change. I don't really know if the bird change needed to happen, but I mean, we'll see how much it actually affects the card the more it's played.
Yeah. And I mean, honestly, time gating it to 3 turns is a little unfortunate, but to be fair, like, most of the time you were saving your Hawk for later turns anyway.
Yeah.
So speaking of just basic buffs, I actually really like the Psylocke change. She's a 2/2 now. She feels really good. I don't think that she feels broken. There are cards that do her job a bit better, like X-23, the Time Stone, Zabu. Now you actually have a competitor, right? Because Psylocke, her advantage is that she gives you an extra energy. You're not energy cheating. So as a Mobius get around, it's actually quite good. I like the change a lot. And with Squirrel Girl, they did something similar. They just gave her an extra power. A lot of people are speculating it's because there's a bundle coming out with Squirrel Girl, and they want her to be a little more appealing. Let me tell you why I'm mad about this.
Uh-oh.
I like Shauna, and I like Dazzler. Why would I ever play Shauna when I can just play Squirrel Girl now? Shauna is a 3/2. Squirrel Girl is a 1/1. The difference in their abilities right now is that Shauna is random and also costs 2 more. Ouch. I don't like it. What are your opinions?
It's Squirrel Girl.
Yep.
Gets ratioed by Killmonger. Go next.
What about Psylocke?
Oh, Psylocke. Oh, I love the Psylocke change. I think the Psylocke change is great.
Yeah.
As someone that didn't have Zabu for a long time, Psylocke was my crutch.
Yeah, no.
She was my shining light in the dimmest darknesses. And there she is in all her beauty.
Yeah, no, I genuinely like the change. I like it a lot. I think that it's very fitting, too, because, it was just no contest between her and Zabu. Why would you ever play Psylocke when you could just play Zabu and you change your deck a little? I think this is way more appealing. I'm actually excited. I'm going to show you a deck that I made in preparation for Black Knight, and it actually uses Psylocke in there instead of Zabu. It's very cool. But yeah, let's talk about the most recent development, which is the Bloodstone season. This is a unique season because there are 5 weeks in here, so it's big. We have a lot of cards to discuss, and some of them are more complicated than others. If you want to know why Kitty Pryde was nerfed to a 1/0 from a 1/2, look no further than Elsa Bloodstone. Okay, she's going to be the season pass card. She's a 2/2 with the ability that if you play another card to fill a location, give it +3 power. And this is an ability that is persistent. So if you brood and you have Elsa on the board, your Kitty Pryde is getting +3 power every single turn you play her there. What do you think of Elsa? Do you think that she's going to break the game again?
I don't know if she's going to break the game, but I want to see her in a destroy list.
Ooh, interesting. I have heard the argument before, right? Like, you can do some pretty cheeky things with Elsa, right? You can make Hulkbuster pretty big, and then you still have that location to fill, so you're just buffing that location like crazy. I've heard Venom, right? Because you're setting up the lane for things to destroy, and then that Venom is going to get that +3 buff. What are you most excited for in the Destroyer? Is it just the Venom combo, or are there other cool things you're thinking about?
I think Venom is cool. I think Deadpool can thrive a lot.
Ooh, interesting. Right? Yeah, I mean, because obviously the Killmonger combo, you could like fill a location, throw the Deadpool there, Killmonger. I see what you mean.
Yeah, just here. Let me just pull up my Destroy deck for scientific purposes. Yeah, honestly, I think just the biggest thing to me is going to be the Deadpool. The Deadpool goes crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, if you were to, well, no, actually, I guess not. I was gonna say if you could fill up the last slot with Sabretooth and then destroy Sabretooth. So
I mean, Destroyer, but that's a lot of setup.
I mean, you could destroy her, but yeah, it's a lot of setup. But yeah, I think it's mainly just for the Deadpool. And I mean, I'm sure there's some stuff that you could do like with Wolverine, or I mean, maybe even just Carnage, having a bigger Carnage, because Carnage is always restricted to being a 2/8 at his max.
I mean, you're convincing me that this is. It feels pretty good in Destroy. Now you're probably gonna have to build your list around it. Like you're gonna want cards that fill lanes quickly, like Mysterio and Squirrel Girl. But that's not too big of a change.
Hey, Squirrel Girl's 1/2 now.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, I think Elsa is going to be really interesting. Obviously, a lot of people are talking about Squirrel Girl, and a lot of people are talking about Brood. Yeah, I think she's going to be really strong. It's interesting to me that she is the season pass card, because there's another card on this list that I feel is way more interesting. But we'll get to it. You know what makes me happy, Daka?
Cinnabons.
That, and we finally have an answer to Brood.
Oh. I know who you're talking about.
I'm talking about Man-Thing.
Sir.
Yeah, man, he's a 4/5. Ongoing 1, 2, and 3 cost cards here have -2 power. If that Brood lane is full, they're now 0 power. That's great. Like, this guy, on a full lane is nuts. We're talking about a 4/13 power card, and he can't be Shang-Chi'd or Shadow King'd. You have to, you have to Enchantress him. If you rogue him, you're not really changing anything because your cards are still effective in that lane.
Yeah.
I like him. I like him a lot.
I like him too. I think, especially because I know it's going to be very niche, but hear me out. There's a goose down on the field. You play a Zabu somewhere else.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he can single-handedly win you the goose lane.
I agree. I think, he's going to be good with Zabu. Obviously, the Psylocke change helps here too. Yeah, man. I'm pretty excited for Man-Thing. Honestly, I think it's so hard. I love all the cards here, but I know I'm not going to be able to get them all, which really stings. So let's talk about the card that I'm actually the most excited for, and you're going to be able to tell exactly why. Black Knight is a 1/2 with the ability that after you discard a card, add the Ebony Blade to your hand with that card's power once per game. The Ebony Blade is a 4/0. You know why I love this card, Daka?
Why?
Lady Sif, InfiNOT, you now have a 4/20 card in your hand, and you can still Ghost Rider the InfiNOT. It's true. It's such a simple card. Now, can you die to Shadow King and Shang-Chi? Yes. Are there changes in the deck that are going to have to be made? Yes. Which is exactly what I did. I posted on Twitter today in preparation for the podcast. I have a pretty cool list, and I don't know if it's going to be good, but I'm going to play it to death. I'm going to share it in the chat with you. Boom. Here's the list. Sunspot, Black Knight, Psylocke, Armor, Mobius, Cosmo, Lady Sif, Ghost Rider, Taskmaster, America Chavez, Giganto, InfiNOT. Is it gimmicky? Yes. But when you pull it off, it's going to be so good. Here's the playline. Black Knight on 1. Your choice on 2. On 3, you Lady Sif. On 4, you play the Ebony Blade, so now you have a 420 on the board. On 5, you play Taskmaster, now you have a 520 on the board. On 6, you Ghost Rider. You now have a 423 on the board. Does that not sound nuts?
Wait, hold on. Run me through that one more time.
Okay. On 1, you play Black Knight. On 2, you play your choice. On 3, you play Lady Sif.
Mm-hmm.
On 4, you play the Ebony Blade, which is now a 420 on the board. On 5, you Taskmaster the Ebony Blade. And on 6, you Ghost Rider and bring your InfiNOT back.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I don't know why. I thought you said that you Ghost Ridered the Black Blade, and I was like,
okay.
and I was like, I don't want to be that guy, but I don't think you can Taskmaster something that's brought out by Ghost Rider.
Yeah, no, you just copy the Ghost Rider. No, but you take the Ebony Blade, you play it down, you Taskmaster it. Now, yes, this is, like I said, it's going to get fucking destroyed by all the things that counter cards. But is it going to be fun when you get it off? Yes, I'm very excited for this deck. And I appreciate you getting through my rant. But needless to say, I think the other things that go good with Black Knight are things like Apocalypse. From my understanding, he's going to work similar to like how Dracula works with Apocalypse, where he takes the value after Apocalypse comes back. So let's say you Lady Sif, you play down Black Knight, and then you Blade. Your Black Knight is now going to be a 416. Or your Ebony Blade is going to be a 416. You still have the Apocalypse in hand. Your Dracula can discard that later. I think this card is going to be supremely underrated, and he's going to define discard in a new way. I'm very excited about it. Do you have any thoughts?
Other than agreeing with you, no, I don't think so.
Okay, great. I'm very excited.
I can't wait to start cooking.
Dude, it's going to be so fun. I'm telling you, Lady Sif Ghost Rider is going to come back. It's going to be a great time. I'm really happy for it. Okay. Let's talk about probably the most complicated card in this list.
Oh, my favorite card. Oh, I want to get my hands on this card so bad. This is the one I'm saving my spotlight caches for.
You know what? I'll let you talk about it then. Why are you so excited about it? Let's talk about it. It's Niku Minoru. She's a 1/2, and she has a bunch of different spells to play.
Yeah. So her on reveal is after you play your next card, cast a spell. And if I'm not mistaken, these should be the spells.
If you click on her in SnapFan, you can look at all the spells.
Yeah, they're related cards, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There are 7 different spells. Let's see. First one up is after you play your next card, it becomes a demon. You know, good 1/6 right there.
Yeah, not bad.
Next one, after you play your next card, destroy it and draw 2 cards.
Interesting.
Sorry. Soulstone enjoyers, eat your heart out. The next ability, or the next spell, after you play your next card, move it 1 location to the right.
Yep.
The next spell, after you play your next card, give it +2 power.
Pretty good.
That's old Forge, right? Wasn't Forge a...
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a +2.
He was a 2/1 that gave a +2.
Yeah. Next one, on reveal, after you play your next card, replace that card's location.
Pretty mid, but you know.
Yeah, I assume it means replace it with the location that you had, like where you played her?
So,
or your last card?
So it's wherever you place the new card, that's the location that changes.
Yeah. The next one is after you play your next card, add a copy of it to your hand, And then
Pretty
the
good.
final spell, after you play your next card, double its power. Oh, Pocket Shuri.
Oh no, I'm afraid to inform
Oh.
you.
Oh.
It's double this card's power.
Oh, okay, yeah, I see.
Thank the Lord and stars above.
I
we
don't
do
know what
not
you're
want.
talking about.
We do not want Mini Shuri in the game.
I don't
Still-
care. I want it. Bring the chaos.
Still very good, right? You're making Niku a 1/4 at that point.
Yeah.
Let's before you even
I want it.
speak. I know why you want it. It sounds really good in a Deadpool deck,
It does.
right?
It also just, I don't know. I like cards like that have multiple different effects.
Yeah, no,
that have multiple different things.
I feel like if you're playing this game with like Devil Dino and all the agents of chaos, you want to play Nico too, because like it's really fun. You and I don't exactly know the mechanics. I think it's random what spell you get each turn. But yeah, man, you get extra
back-to-back spells.
I'm sorry, what?
Like, after you use the spell, is that spell gone, or can it cycle back into that spell? I wonder.
Once you use the spell of Niku Minoru, her on reveal deactivates.
Got you.
There is a way to bring it back, though. People have been talking about, like, okay, well, I could, like, Absorbing Man, and then Absorbing Man would get the spells, and you would have to cycle through his spells to see what he does.
Oh, wait. Okay, hold on. I got this. You could, hear me out. You could Absorbing Man to get another spell, and then you could destroy her, and then bring her back with Phoenix Force, and then you get another one that can move. Oh, man.
I feel like the Phoenix Force one would honestly be easier, because, like, Absorbing Man, at that point, you only have 2 turns to take advantage of the effect. And you don't get that benefit until later on, right? Like, you would have to play Niku on, like, turn 3. Nico on turn 3, and then Absorbing Man it, whereas Phoenix Force, you can play Nico on 1, and then destroy it, and then later on bring it back. I feel like that's probably more viable. But yeah, man, Nico is going to be crazy. I feel like it's super
That's the card
hard.
I'm ready for.
It's so hard to tell what this card is going to place. The only thing I know for certain is you probably play this in Deadpool decks, because why not? You already play, like, Nova in those decks. I don't think the Nico is a bad replacement. Like, what are the most mediocre ones? Like, the location change and the moving one? But all the rest of them benefit a Deadpool deck pretty significantly.
True.
Yeah, man.
I just, I can't wait to get that card. Oh, I want it so bad.
It's gonna be lit.
Wait, she would go crazy with Elsa Bloodstone.
I think
in
you're
a
right.
Deadpool deck.
I think you're right. I think this whole archetype is gonna expand beyond our wildest dreams, and I know for sure that there are gonna be some people who find like the most optimal way to use the card, and it's gonna be nuts. Let's talk about the last card to be released, Werewolf by Night. After you play an on-reveal card at another location, move there and gain +2 power. He's a 3/3. I don't know how I feel about Werewolf by Night. Does he create an archetype? Does he slot into an archetype? I don't know.
This is very interesting. I almost want to say Werewolf by Night is like... It almost sounds like he could be a better Silk in the sense of like, you know where he's gonna go, but I don't know. I think because if you play him in a big on reveal deck, I mean, he can just shoot around.
But here's the thing though, right? Like in an on reveal deck, you want to be playing Wong, Mystique, and then doing something crazy. He just kind of gets in the way. Like, optimally, you want to find him in a deck where you're doing on reveal effects at multiple points across the board. I've heard that basically he's going to be a move enabler primarily. Like, you have things like Doctor Strange and Ghost Spider and who else am I thinking of? Like Spider-Man, these kind of cards where it's on reveal, they move, this card moves, it's giving power, it's doing things. I think the maximum power this card can get in a normal turn 6 game is what, like a 3-9? Is that right? Because 3 turns, 3 times 2 is 6 plus, yeah. So at his maximum potential, he's the 3-9. And I need to ask you, is that better than a Vulture, who with one move can be a 3-8? Because I don't know.
I don't really know either. I think he's a card that I'm just gonna have to see people play or play with myself.
Mm-hmm.
I think, much like Nico, he's gonna be one of those cards that people have to like unlock, if that makes sense. Like, they need to figure out how to play him and like what to play him in. And I think once people like really figure out what to do with him, he has potential to be really nasty. But I don't know.
Like, I've been trying to like brew in my head a couple of ideas. I do think that he fits in, like I said, into the like the whole what do they call it? The Silky Smooth. That's the deck that was going around where you had like Kraven and Silk and Spider-Man. And the idea is that you couldn't control where the cards went, but it didn't really matter because you got so much power on the board. I think you probably throw him into that deck, and he probably does well because he's buffing both Kraven and himself. I just don't know. It's interesting. I think I was trying to slot him into other archetypes. You know what came and went pretty quickly? When Nebula came out, there was a brief stint where people were trying the Guardians again. Because the idea was like, okay, if they want to stop my Nebula from getting power, they're giving my Guardians power, so I win either way. That sort of faded out of style because obviously the Guardians have a lot of downsides. The biggest downside now is that Shadow King is a thing. It's terrible for the Guardians. I think though, in a similar vein, if you have a couple of cards in that deck like the Guardians, or even cards just as simple as like a Absorbing Man, White Tiger, Odin list, I think you could ping pong Werewolf by Night around and have a pretty good time. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see. With that, that's in totality the card updates. We can talk about the new location called the Abbey. It's the wording here, maybe you can help me decipher, Daka. It says, first to put exactly 2 cards here draws a card. What does exactly mean? Does that mean Brood doesn't work?
Yeah, I would say I'm assuming that means cards like if you play something like Brood where it adds cards afterwards, or I don't know, if you like fill a lane with Ultron, I guess, and like that wouldn't work because it's 4 and it needs to be the first person to have 2 cards in the lane.
And it's not saying that you need to put both on the same turn, right? Like, to put exactly 2 cards here, at first I thought it was like, okay, do I need to put like 2 1-drops there specifically on at the same time? I don't know, it's weird.
Ooh, I wonder, does this mean that you can destroy someone by, like, let's say for some reason you both put 1 card there on turn 2. If I play Green Goblin there on turn 3 and Green Goblin flies over,
oh, interesting.
They're at 3.
Interesting.
So then, I can just get I can get that free draw essentially for free.
It's an interesting question. We'll have to play around with it. I'm always unsure about the mechanics. Like, do you remember the what was that one location that was like the last card to get here is destroyed, and that included like move and other things? That was so weird. They removed it because it had a bunch of bugs. This gives me similar vibes. I don't know what I don't know what it means when it says first to put exactly 2 cards here. It should be self-explanatory, but it doesn't feel like it. Anyway, besides the new location, we do have a bunch of Midnight Suns variants. I don't know if you saw those. They're pretty dope.
I did. Also, am I looking at the am I looking at like the data mined version? Because this other location seems crazy if this is real.
What are you looking at?
I'm looking at the September update patch notes on SnapFan, and
okay.
After you play a card here this turn, destroy the top card of your opponent's deck.
Oh, interesting. Hold on.
Rip Yondu.
Yeah. Whoa. Hotel Inferno. Huh. I don't know. After you play a card here this turn, destroy the top. Yeah, damn. That's brutal.
It is.
Man, imagine, dude, if you played Yondu there too. Oh god. All I'll say is this is probably just a buff to Null.
Probably, or a nerf to Null. If it destroys Null.
Oh, that makes me so happy. I've been playing my because I get the only deck that's winning me games right now is my Destroyer list. But very occasionally I'll bring out my Death Strike list because I'm just a simp for her. Being able to destroy the -10 power Void and then people play their Null thinking it's going to be a bomb is hilarious. Because oftentimes they're just playing like a 6/8 and then I beat them. It's honestly kind of amazing. Yeah, man, I like the theme of this season. It's very spooky. Do you have any final thoughts on the upcoming season? Do you think that you're going to get more into Snap? Do these cards interest you?
Think of all the cards that are coming. The ones that interest me the most are Man-Thing, Black Knight, and Nico.
Yes.
And I think the 2 that I'm going to try my absolute hardest to get are Nico and Black Knight. I really want to get Man-Thing, but I mean, ultimately, if I have to pass on Man-Thing, I mean, I'm not going to get butthurt about it.
You know what makes me a little happy? Man-Thing is going to be a Series 4 card, so if you do have collector's tokens, he's only going to cost 3,000.
You know what? You're right. I think I'm sitting at 2,600 right now. So you know what? Maybe the collector's reserves will bless me,
and if not,
I will have enough for him.
Keep your eyes out for Token Tuesday because you can get him then too.
True.
Yeah, I think that's my plan. I'm gonna try to get Man-Thing. I'm definitely getting Black Knight, and then if I roll the dice and get lucky, I might get Nico and Werewolf. I'll be honest though, after this season, I don't know if I'm gonna have any caches or spotlight caches left, and that kind of worries me. I've said it before. I'm obviously not a huge fan of the new system. It has its benefits. It also has its downsides. How many spotlight caches are you at right now?
Well, right now I'm at 2. But the way I see it, I'm not summoning. I'm not collecting my caches for this week because the only card that I don't have is Echo in the random series 4 or 5, and I can pass on those cards. So I think after I do my weeklies, I'll be at 3, maybe 4 spotlight caches. And if I don't get more than 4 by the time Black Knight comes out, then I guess I'm skipping Black Knight and just saving them all for Nico.
I mean,
guaranteeing that I get Nico.
Yeah, I mean, we just live in a world where you have to be more selective, unfortunately.
Yeah, because I'm not going below 4. Okay. After I get 4, if I get more after that and Black Knight's out, then I will use those extra ones on Black Knight to try to get Black Knight. But if I don't, I'll get him eventually. Salute.
Yeah, man. I feel like I'm most excited for Black Knight. Man-Thing I also really like. I might just replace Captain Marvel in my original Big Boys list because he's kind of just dope. I like him a lot. And then as for Nico, I want Nico. If I can't get her, I'm not going to cry about it. And I'm not aiming for Werewolf by Night. If I have an excess of caches, if I get like god tier luck and I get Black Knight and Nico first try, I'll go for Werewolf. But otherwise, I'm saving those caches. Yeah, man. I think that about covers it. Any final thoughts before we sign off here?
I I think I'm gonna enjoy this next season definitely more than I enjoyed the Loki season,
Yes.
and I think that is a good thing.
Yep, I'm excited for spooky season. We have a lot of interesting cards here. I'm super curious to see the decks that Black Knight, Nico, and Werewolf all make. They're going to be all interesting. Elsa is going to be predictable. I already see the things that are going to benefit from her. The other cards I'm going to be interested to see. So with that being said, if there's one thing that you can remember, it's that we're InfiNOT. Thanks for listening.